this week's episode of The Writer's Room. I'm your host, Tessa Durrell, and this week I'm joined by Gabe Trevino and Daniel Allen. So since both of you guys have been on The Writer's Room this year, we're actually going to start off by talking about some of the homecoming traditions for this week. So what are your guys' favorite traditions for homecoming at OSU?
You can go ahead.
Yeah, I always love, obviously the orange fountain dye is pretty fun, good way to kick off the week, but I really like seeing the, fraternities and sororities, Greek life come together, pomp. It's probably the best aspect of homecoming. I know, I'm in Greek life. I've enjoyed the pomping so far. It's been fun, getting to know other girls from other sororities, getting to see all the personalities around campus and, just unite for, 4-week period and try to build the best pomp in homecoming and try to win an award. So
I kind of just like, from someone who is not from Oklahoma, didn't grow up around the area, and now just a student here, I like to seeing everybody come together. The OSU family is something I've really grown to learn about, and so many people just come into campus, alumni, even students from across the state who aren't OSU students. They come here. Everyone's on campus, everyone's doing something, and just seeing all those people around Stillwater it's just pretty exciting to see for a little small town.
Yeah, so maybe you can answer this since you aren't from around here. Why do you think OSU is the best homecoming? Why do you think we deserve the title of America's greatest homecoming?
It's probably just, it's just, I think it's a self-titled thing, but it's a pride of OSU takes homecoming more seriously than probably any other school, at least from my perspective. So that's probably why. And again, kind of what I was saying earlier, everybody just coming back to campus makes it America's greatest. It's not, the traditions, it's not the pomping, or it's not the fountain dye, it's not the football game. It's everybody coming back to this small town in Oklahoma to celebrate the school that, everyone's grown to love.
What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm really with Gabe. I don't know if OSU's necessarily, I think it's more of a, self-proclaimed title. But, at the same time, to piggyback off of what he said, you really don't see a lot of other major universities put this much investment into homecoming. You don't really see this many surplus of alumni and former students come back. And like Gabe said, in such a small town, it's a pretty cool sight to see.
Yeah. So do either of you guys maybe have a favorite memory from homecoming from past years, or is there something that sticks out if you've only had one homecoming on campus to you guys?
I was here last year. That was my first year, and I remember going to the fountain dyeing and seeing this is pretty cool. It was kind of a smaller event because not that many people showed up for that one. But then as the week gets on, the events get bigger, the crowds get bigger, and then by the time it's Friday for walking around, homecoming hoops last year at the fraternity house. So everyone's just in that small area. It's just pretty cool to see everybody. The pomping's pretty cool, so it's cool to look at that. But then also, again, just seeing the people all coming together at one place is just pretty cool.
I don't really have any or many past memories at homecomings that I can remember off the top of my head. I know they're all pretty unique, pretty cool, but I know that at the Beta House last year, the homecoming hoops, that was pretty cool. Getting to see Beta just set up the whole week, watch them, put a lot of time and investment into that, and then obviously, it was a good showing. It was a good crowd last year. It was a good turnout, so I thought that was pretty cool last year.
Yeah, so in the future, once you graduate and all that, and it's time to come back to another OSU homecoming, what do you think you'll look forward to the most?
Probably just being back in Stillwater, because I feel like when I graduate, I'm probably just gonna, go off, go back home, so whatever. I'll leave for a while, but then I'll come back and it'll be just reliving those memories. That's what homecoming's about. It's coming back to where you graduated, where you went to school for 4 years, and just reliving all those memories, going to the football game, and thinking, oh wow, I remember doing this in college. I remember doing this. I remember being with these people. So I think it's just the homecoming of the name is, you're coming home really, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, really. I can't say a future date. I don't know where my job will take me in the future, but I really think what Gabe said, it's the best, put answer. You come back to a place, you experience the best memories of your life. A lot of people told me coming in college is the best time you'll never want to have again. It's 100% true. I was skeptical. Why do they say that? A year already into my sophomore year, I can see why people say that. In the future, you want to come back. You want to see what you did in college. You want to see the people you grew around in college, you matured around. You experienced some of the best memories of your life with, and I guess that's probably what I'm going to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. So are you guys excited for the parade and all that, all the game day festivities?
Yeah.
You ready for it?
With 2:30 kickoff's a little weird, but I mean, yeah, you kind of wake up earlier because I mean, like last year was like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, something like that. But earlier is fine.
It's going to be fun. You'll have the whole day to celebrate, huh?
Right.
So that's all the time we have for this segment here, but make sure to stick with us because we'll be right back in the writer's room.
My name is James Remedi. Fired Up Stilly is the name of the business, and I'm one of the owners. We all three met, the three owners, working as employees at a similar place like this. What I hope for is for everybody to feel welcome, like family. Not only do I want students to feel welcome to come here and study and use our free Wi-Fi, but also I want adults and families to be able to come in. We've built a connection with a lot of people, and Stillwater's a big community, so we just want to invite everybody to be able to eventually make their way through our doors. Well, definitely the teas, I would say. Most people fall in love with them. They just got a great amount of energy, gets you going through your day, and it just kickstarts you to get everything you need to done. For myself, it would just have to be, being the owner, owning something that, is able to impact other people's lives, and, the way we can affect our community is something that I really have always wanted to do. We love our clients and our customers that come through every day, and we enjoy getting to know them.
Well, how I got started was my daughter said, "Mama, why don't we rent a booth at the Quarter Horse Show?" And it was very, very good because, when you're giving your jelly away for free, people really do love it. But when you ask them to pay for it, then that's a true test. What makes my product so unique is the Scotch bonnet pepper. And the Scotch bonnet is the Jamaican pepper. And I had lived in Montego Bay, Jamaica for 4 years. So I learned how to handle the pepper and how to cook with it. I always say, you don't do this on your own. I mean, you have so many people that help you along the way. For me and for many of us, that's my name on that jar, and it better be good.
We are back here in the writer's room with Daniel and Gabe, and right now we're going to take a look at one of Gabe's latest stories about Caleb Etienne. So why don't you just give us a little synopsis about that story?
Yeah, so it's kind of just a basic of he was a JUCO guy when COVID kind of shut everything down. JUCO took a big hit from that. The season got canceled, so he didn't get to play, he didn't get to practice, he didn't get to do anything. So then he transfers to D1. He finds himself 50 pounds overweight. He finds himself not in good shape because coming from JUCO, he was saying, hey, we have a weight room, but it's not as serious as they take it at D1. They don't really have a nutrition staff as that OSU has. So all these things are different for him. He's coming in overweight. He's not really getting much playing time, but he sticks around. He's on scout team. He cuts that weight. He drops about 50 pounds, I think he said, and now he's starting for the Cowboys at left tackle. So one of the most important positions on offense. This guy who had 2 years to really grow into himself, and now he's starting for OSU.
Yeah. So what was getting to write this story like for you and getting to interact with him, especially as someone who came from a JUCO?
It's just getting a different perspective on football. You see all these guys who they were 4 stars, and then now they're coming to OSU, and they've had everything not really everything set up for themselves, but you know what I mean. It's been easier than a guy who had to struggle through. He had to go through 2 JUCOs. He didn't have the weight staff. He didn't get playing time that much, even in JUCO, and so he's just more humble. He's just a lot humble. He's thinking about his past, thinking, I got through all this, and now I'm starting. I feel like I can do anything now. And so that was kind of what talking to him was like. He's a pretty nice dude talking to him. He's pretty funny. He has good personality. So that's what it was, just getting a different perspective on a football player than talking to Spencer Sanders, who was a 4-star. Now he's the starting quarterback. Yeah. It was a guy who had to go through kind of like the minor leagues and then get to D1.
Work their way up.
Mm-hmm.
So you said, he has a different outlook. Both of you guys can answer this, but how come you think JUCO products do look at it differently? Is that, a more positive thing? Just what is the difference and why between a JUCO product and someone who comes straight out of high school to a Division I school?
You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I think, kind of to tie back to what, Gabe said or Caleb said in Gabe's article, you experience more in life, if that makes sense, rather than what a D a D1 athlete or FBS right out of the gate. Athlete who has everything set up for him. I think JUCO, you have to, I guess, trust the process. Not to be cliche, but you have to trust the process a lot more. You experience a lot more grit and determination, and you build yourself for that FBS caliber competition.
Yeah. So what do you think it's like for a family, maybe like Caleb's family, to watch their kid go from a JUCO to a Division I school? How do you think that feels as a support system for an athlete that's making that transition?
I mean, he was telling me that's everything. I didn't include that much in the story, but he has a son. I don't remember how old he is. But he has a son, and he's in the game. He's in the crowd every game. After the game, he goes and they come down at the wall. They hug, whatever. They do all that. So having his support system was almost motivation of, I need to get through this because I have a family I need to help support. And so coming from JUCO to D1, that's just one part of the step of getting to where he wants to be in his football career, to support his family who supported him through all that. It's almost giving back in a way.
Yeah, and what do you guys think Caleb Etienne adds to our football team this year? Do you think maybe he's part of the reason that Sanders is having the season he is thus far?
I think he's adding a lot of stability. Last year's offensive line was a rotating door. A lot of guys were getting hurt. A lot of guys had to, go from guard to tackle, which is a big difference, playing interior offensive line to playing outside on tackle. But he's just been there. He hasn't got hurt. He hasn't had to sub out because he's been doing poor. He's been doing his job to where it needs to be. He's protecting Sanders. He's blocking. He's a big guy, so it's pretty easy for him to do that. He has long arms. He's 6'7", so it's hard for edge rushers to get past him anyway. So he's just doing something that OSU needs. Spencer doesn't need to be under pressure all the time like he was last year, but having stability is all he needs.
Yeah, he was saying his length helps him out a lot, but he goes against people who also have that same length now that he's in Division I football. So I thought that was an awesome story to get to highlight where he came from and how he helps the team. I thought it was awesome. So that's about all the time we have in this segment, but make sure to stick with us because we will be right back here in the Writers' Room.
Hi, I'm Shauna here at Where the Buffalo Roam in beautiful downtown Pawnee, Oklahoma. We have a lot of beautiful and unique items for sale in the store, but our number one items are Navajo jewelry, Pendleton blankets, and Consuela. It's a great place to shop, a beautiful downtown, so come see us in Pawnee, Oklahoma.
Pecans are staple to Oklahoma. In fact, many of our native pecans come from trees that are older than Oklahoma statehood.
My father's the one that got us started into the pecan picking. I was probably 10 or 12 years old, and we started off with one little mechanical picker that you pulled behind a four-wheeler. Then we'd go home at night and we'd clean them on a TV tray. I guess watching my dad work hard when we were young and people started trusting him and getting more and more groves, we just kept growing.
Being a relatively new and fresh company, we get to sit in the same room with people who have been a part of the Oklahoma economy for decades.
It's opened a lot of doors. It's gave us quite a bit of exposure, and I think people, will take a small company like us a little more serious. We're just going to continue growing as long as our community lets us and our customers keep on buying, and we'll see where it takes us.
We're back here in the Writers' Room, and right now we're going to take a look at last week's baseball exhibition against the Texas Rangers developmental program. And Daniel, you got to write that story. What was it like getting to write about baseball in the fall?
Well, I mean, I think it's a good opportunity to get to know the team at an early stage. Obviously, getting to see a professional organization at Obrate, that was pretty unique. You got to see names like Kumar Rocker, Dane Acker. Some of the top prospects in the Rangers organization, they were on the roster, and you got to get an early glimpse at a team that it's coming off like a rather disappointing season, and counting the preseason expectations last season. But OSU looks like they've reloaded. They got a lot of transfers from the portal. They had a top 10 recruiting class coming in, and then they got Jordy Mercer coming back as a graduate assistant. So a lot of good things coming for baseball team this season.
Yeah, and it was a super cool setup because we got to see so many arms on the mound.
Right.
Who do you think was a major standout as far as pitching goes for the Cowboys?
I'd say Long Beach State transfer Warren Watts Brown. Obviously, he struck out the side. 3 batters, I think under 10 pitches actually. His wipeout slider was pretty impressive. Sat at 94, 96 consistently. I was really impressed by him. And then, Jansen Keisel, haven't really nailed that yet, but he transferred in from BYU. He's consistently throwing 97, 99 on his fastball. That really impressed me. I remember he peaked at 100 in the warm-ups, and the OSU dugout went berserk. All the coaches were clapping and screaming at him. One that really impressed me, and while his velocity is a little lower, really looked like he had a lot more command on his breaking pitches. Ben Abram transferred in from OU. His main issue at OU, you look at his stats, and his ERA, his strikeout total was a little low. But he looked like he had a lot more command of his pitches, and I guess it's too early to just judge off of one inning, but it looked like he had a lot more command over his pitches. And then, you didn't get to see Nolan McLean, who's probably going to be the closer for OSU this year, but you saw 10 different arms, 10 different innings, and you saw a variety of different arms who OSU's probably going to use this year.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. Now, at bat, the Cowboys won't have Griffin Dorsing there, which is
Right.
maybe a major loss for them potentially. But do you think there were any standouts as far as batting goes for the Cowboys?
Well, yeah. Tyler Wolfert transferred in from Iowa Central Community College. He was 3 for 4, had a grand slam, two-out grand slam in the first inning, and then Nolan Schubert didn't get a hit. He's a top 100 recruit. Was formerly committed to Michigan until their head coach went to Arizona State. Yeah, and then he ended up at OSU, and Coach Holliday said he's got a lot of power. He was really impressed by him early on when we spoke with him in inter squads last week or week before the exhibition, and then you kind of saw it on display. And then another guy, Bo Sylvester, he was a highly touted freshman, formerly committed to Washington, ends up at OSU. I think he got a base hit. Had a lot of patience at the plate, and then there's a lot of guys you didn't get to see Aiden Miola, but Coach was really high on him. He said he's made a lot of strides towards last year, and him and Wolford are going to be in a tight competition for third base this year. But there were a lot of really bats for OSU that stood out, and a lot of potential for OSU's offense this year.
Yeah. So in this last minute we have here, what aspect of the Cowboys baseball team do you think they will have improved the most from last season?
I really think offensively, to be honest. They got a lot of guys, a lot of transfers, a lot of recruits who are known for their offense. And usually you look at OSU's sure thing for OSU is their starting pitching's usually on par, top of the nation, top of the Big 12. This year it's a lot of uncertainty. They lost not just all 3 of their starters, but all 4 of the guys who got preliminary starts last year for OSU. It's a new look pitching rotation. There's a lot of uncertainty there. I think the bullpen's more experienced though. Ryan Bogus is a name who may come in and be a starter for OSU, but offensively I think OSU is going to improve a lot.
Yeah, now it's time to take a break here in the Writers' Room, but we'll be back in just a second for our final segment for this week.
Kristen Hawkins. I went to Oklahoma State University here in Stillwater in 99 to 2004. I've always felt like Stillwater needed more family-friendly things to do, and we have opened up AR Workshop. We do everything from knitting blankets that can be done in a 3-hour class. We create doormats and porch signs, the Christmas wreaths with our yarn that we use for the blankets. We also do, we just started a new project for gnomes, and we've done pumpkins during the fall. But our big thing that we do here are interior signs. Our designs are extremely unique to AR Workshop. Customers come in, everything is here for them to do. they create everything. They can be as hands-on as they want. They came in here to relax and have fun, and that they are proud of their project that they've made.
Ace in the Bowl salsa started many, many years ago. I was trying to find a recipe to take to a family gathering, and so I started messing around with different recipes, and I took a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and I came up with a salsa that is truly unique. Ace in the Bowl salsa is an olive oil based salsa with tomatoes, green chilies, green onions, and black olives. There's no sugar added, it's gluten-free, low calorie, low carb, low fat, low sodium. So it's a very, very, very good alternative to any snack you may want. As of right now, I'm just looking to be in Oklahoma and having a successful business within the state. If my grandkids could ever take it over when they're old enough, that would be my dream.
We are back here for our final segment today, and now we're going to take a look at OSU football. So coming off of last week, it was a tough loss for the Cowboys, but what do you think they can carry over from that game into this week's game against Texas?
They started off really strong in the first half, and that's what they need to do again. Spencer Sanders had a couple rushing touchdowns in the first half. I think John Paul Richardson had a touchdown in the first half. Yeah, he did, receiving touchdown. So starting off strong is very important. You don't want to get behind early, especially with this Texas offense that is so explosive. They can score like that. So you really need to start off strong offensively if you're the Cowboys. Just air it down the field, run it with Spencer. Try to establish the run early. That's another big thing they need to do. But really just start strong like they did last week against TCU.
Yeah, I think testing the Texas secondary is going to be a big key for OSU. I know there were some injury issues last week against Iowa State. I know their passing defense hasn't been the best, but they got some big guys in the trenches. I know OSU's had some issues establishing consistency in the run game. They're going to have to do that against Texas, though. They're going to have to do it. And then obviously, the Texas defense, a lot of big guys, but if OSU can stay consistent in the trenches, win the offensive defensive line battle, I think OSU's got a good shot. And then again, like Gabe said, Texas can score at any moment, so they gotta contain Quinn Ewers, obviously.
Yeah, they've got quite the offense Texas does. It's quite versatile. They've got they established both a passing game and a running game.
Right.
What are some keys for OSU's defense to have in mind when they're going against that tough Texas offense?
I think because last year I remember it was kind of a similar situation of, man, you gotta stop Bijan Robinson. I don't think there's really stopping him. There's not a way you can stop it, especially with the backup running back. I forget his name, but he's very explosive too. So it's really hard to stop that run game. So, but last year they were able to stop the passing game with Casey Thompson, but now it's Quinn Ewers. So it's going to see, hey, he's a freshman quarterback. He's a very talented quarterback. He's played really well this season when he has played. But it's going to be more about stopping him, I think, than stopping Bijan.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this season, you heard all the hype around Quinn Ewers. Number 2 highest rated quarterback of all time out of high school. It's been on display so far. Obviously, you've seen the ball placement. The deep ball is pretty good. But I think something that people don't look at, Quinn Ewers really hasn't had to run that much this year. So uncertainty regarding his mobility. Obviously, he's listed as a pro-style quarterback, but I think getting pressure on Quinn Ewers, Texas is one of the biggest offensive lines in the Big 12, but OSU has one of the more experienced defensive lines in the Big 12. So I think if OSU can get pressure on Quinn Ewers, I think that's going to bode a long way for the OSU defense this weekend.
As far as offense goes for the Cowboys, what is one improvement you think coming off of last week that they need to make?
I think the kind of obvious one is stop the run game, or establish the run game. Dominic Richardson is averaging, I believe, like 3.3 yards a carry in Big 12 play. That's not particularly well. But other than that, I'd say getting Bryson Green more involved. He had a crazy good game against Texas Tech. I don't think he had maybe one catch against TCU. He was very limited in that game. So giving him more touches too, along with trying to establish the run, I think is pretty important for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think I really think, you've got to get more of the wide receivers involved. You've got to get more of the wide receivers involved. I think they're really secluded in their action against TCU, and obviously against a injury-prone but experienced Texas defense, getting a variety of weapons involved, and people who can put a threat to that very experienced Texas defense. I think that'll bode a long way for the OSU offense this week.
Yeah. So do you think, with it being homecoming, that adds any sort of advantage for OSU, or you think that that's not going to have anything to do with it this weekend?
I'm not sure, because was 2020 a homecoming game, or when? I'm not
I don't
sure.
think they had.
Last time Texas was in here, it was a pretty big upset for Texas over OSU. But then the last time, I believe, was a full crowd. It was a pretty big upset for OSU over Texas. So I don't know. Tempers may be hot. The energy in the stadium, I assume, is going to be very, very electric. It's going to be we don't know how many times OSU is going to play Texas from now on. This could be maybe one or maybe second to last time Texas plays in Boone Pickett Stadium. So I think the energy will be exciting, but I don't know. Texas has had some pretty big away games this year, right. So I'm not sure how affected they will be with a 50,000, probably 55,000 crowd in Boone Pickens.
This is probably, like Gabe was saying, this is probably going to be the biggest road test Texas has faced all season. I don't really know if you'd count it's Red River as a road game, especially with how dominant the Texas crowd was in that game. But Texas played, obviously, elephant in the room. Texas played Alabama really good. Texas took care of the non-conference opponents like they're supposed to. Texas Tech without Quinn Ewers, without some of their starting offensive linemen, but Texas has really shown over the past 2 or 3 weeks that what they can do offensively, and I think it's going to be tough for OSU, obviously with some injuries in the secondary. You don't know if Spencer Sanders is 100%, but I think the crowd's definitely going to play a huge part in it. And Texas defense, Texas secondary, not the best. So if OSU can take advantage of that, I think OSU's set up for a good game.
Yeah, and I kind of want to go back to your point about this potentially being the last or second to last time that OSU gets to play Texas and Boone Pickens. Do you think that adds some heat to this game for OSU?
I think for maybe some of the guys from Texas, not to give it away, but someone's working on a story for They'll Call It this week to be published about, hey, this could be one of the last times. But talking to some of the players who are from Texas, like Tyler Lacey, he was saying, man, like everyone from kind of using himself as an example, like, a lot of kids from high school play high school football in Texas want to go to UT, and I don't think many of them were offered by UT, so they came to OSU. So that could be a little revenge thing of, hey, we weren't offered by Texas, so we're going to go beat them, kind of thing for the players.
Yeah. So now I want to talk about score predictions. What do you guys think the score will be this weekend, and who do you think is going to come out on top?
I had Texas winning, actually, 38-30. I think it'll be another shootout game, kind of like last week with TCU and OSU and OSU. But Texas offense is just when Quinn Ewers is playing, there's not really stopping him. Bijan Robinson is probably the best running back in the country. Xavier Worthy is one of the best receivers in the country. The offensive line is big, fast, physical. They're able to stop anybody. So that offense, they can get 50 points if they wanted to.
Yeah.
I have anywhere from 38-35, 41-35 of OSU winning, in a slight one shootout homecoming. Like tempers are going to be flaring. Going to be one of the last times you play a marquee name like Texas. You've seen the end result in a plethora of games down the stretch. You've seen how advantageous the crowd can be, and if OSU takes advantage of the Texas defense, continues playing well like they have offensively, I think OSU could come out on top.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. That is all the time we have here for this week's episode, but make sure to join us next week in the Writers' Room.
My name's Kayla. I've been here since the beginning, so 4 years. Scratch is more focused on farm and mostly made in Oklahoma products, keeping it local. Sustainability is our biggest thing. That's one of the reasons why this place opened.
I've been the chef here at Scratch for 2.5 years. Started here as a line cook. Our food and drinks are a bit separate entities almost inside the restaurant. So the food is now up to 85% of the products we bring in are raised or grown locally. It's all based off of things that I grew up eating in southern Oklahoma, the things my grandparents ate.
Fresh food, clean food, organic food, sustainability, that's all of our thing. From front of house to back of house, we're able to maintain both with freshness. But made in Oklahoma means we get it straight from the farms that are 20, 30 minutes, another little county away. We get it